Southside 457.
Did you know that the Southside on Lamar is a National Historic Building?
This building tells a story.
I need a story to connect to with my heart.
There are so many stories in this building.
I wanted to teach other people how to naturally love themselves, and so I ventured into the field of opening my own spot.
There are people in this building with a passion to share what they know.
When I share my knowledge and my skills and my gift, I'm serving my purpose.
Preachers, teachers, architects, attorneys, engineers, artists of all kinds in this building.
What makes this place tick to me and makes it exciting is the combination of so many different kinds of people.
It's like a melting pot.
It's like a melting pot.
15 years, I've never regretted being here at Southside.
Welcome to the Southside 457 podcast. I'm your host, Walter Johnson Jr. Let's get it on. You can't miss the princess.
Listen, Linda, listen.
Southside 457.
Welcome to the Southside 457 podcast. I'm your host, Walter Johnson Jr., and today we have a very special brother by the name, Mr. Nat Tate. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So this podcast is built around Southside of Lamar, and then, you know, as old as this building is and unique as this building is, people don't really understand unless you're here, the community and the type of uniqueness within the people itself. And that's why I asked you to be on the show, because you're part of that uniqueness.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So you have an interesting history, and just share a little bit about where you come from and how you got to Southside.
How I got to Southside, let's see. I was working for the Foundation for Community Empowerment, and Don Williams was the CEO. And I was looking for a place to relocate and start a studio, video production and audio recording, and DVD, CD duplication and animation and all that. And so I found, I had heard about Southside, but I had never driven by. And someone mentioned, you know, you ought to look at Southside if you want to put a business. I mean, you know, the environment is great. And so, you know, 15 years ago, I drove by and found Southside, and I've been here that long. Been here 15 years. I think it's a unique community. I think it's got a lot to offer to small business as well as large businesses. And the building's own uniqueness is great. And you just don't find that or get that in the newer architecture. You get a lot of glass and beauty and that kind of thing. But this building tells a story.
Yeah.
And the people here are talented people. It's a real tight community. A lot of artists like yourself, photographers. So 15 years, I've never regretted being here at Southside. It's been a great place.
Okay, so a lot of people, I know a little bit about your story, about where you come from, and let's just dive deeper into the back in New York and how you got to where you are. And
how did I get from New York to video production and audio recording and all the technologies? I started out in New York City, and I lived in the public library. It was called Woodstock Public Library. My father, back in the day, the libraries had a custodian. You had to live on site. So because you had to live on site, my brothers and sisters, my mom and dad, we lived on the top floor. They had an apartment. And I loved it so much because I was able to go downstairs after the library closed and go anywhere in the world. I could read any book. I could study. If I had a question, I knew how to use the Dewey Decimal System to look it up. So it was fantastic. I wish other young people could experience that. Living in the library, the library, the book is really a hard drive. It really is a hard drive. It's a physical hard drive, and it stores a lot of information. And then from there, about 15 years old, I moved up to Saratoga Springs, New York. Saratoga is a racehorse town. The biggest horses and most famous racehorses ran in Saratoga. And so I lived there for 15 years. And enjoyed it. During that time, I had a small recording studio. I had an old board that had knobs on it. You know, you turn the knobs. Yeah, the Gates. It was a Gates board, which was used in radio stations.
Yeah, I had one of those too.
But it was a good start. I didn't, know a whole lot about it. And I had a big turntable, and I had an Ampex tape recorder, and that was my studio. But that turned into growth where, not only learning how to record audio and voice, but then music. And that started developing my skills. The way we acoustically adjusted the walls was we put, what's that pink stuff you put on the walls? Insulation. Yeah. We put that all over the room. And fiberglass? Yes, but we covered it up with canvas. Oh, yeah. But people were still itching when they... Yeah. we got a story like that. But it was a learning experience. And I think I'm a firm believer that if you've got to start somewhere. A lot of folks want to start up here, but you got to start down here and learn and grow those skills. So in Saratoga, while I was there, I just about ready to say, it's time to move on. There was an election that came up for the school board. And an African American had not run for the school board in 15 years. So I said, I'm going to try it. And so I started, canvassing, knocking on doors, doing all sorts of stuff, talking, speaking, going to the communities and talking to them. And one thing that happened that really helped me was I went to this one door and was going to go through the fence and put a flyer on the step or near the mailbox. You couldn't put them in the mailbox. Yeah. But I heard this voice. The door was open to the house. Yeah. I heard this voice say, "Sick 'em." And you know how you hear feet? You hear feet running on the floor, dog feet. I said, man, this lady's going to sick a dog. Oh, wow. I ran so fast out of that yard, and it was so funny. But what I did was, I mentioned it back to her name was Jenny. She's not around anymore. But I said, Jenny, you know what happened? I went to this one door and tried to put a flyer on the porch, and this lady sicked the dog on me. She said she did. She put it in the paper. Oh, wow. She was a reporter. And I don't know if it helped me or not, but it said, Nathaniel Tate almost sick with attacked by dog. It was funny, but I won, and I stayed for about a year. But during that time, I was in Saratoga. I was always sending out resumes and that kind of thing, and Christian Broadcasting Network (CBN) called me and said, "Hey, we want to interview you." Okay. So I said, I know I'm not going to get a job down there. And they told me when I went down for the interview, because I was going to go just to school, Regent University, their school. And they said, well, we'll see. We hire a lot of Hollywood people. We don't know if we want you. But I think about a month later, they gave me a call and said, hey, come on down. And I became a unit manager and proved myself as a unit manager. And that put me in the place of saying, you know what, I can go a lot further. I can go a whole lot further.
So explain what a unit manager is.
A unit manager is one who takes care of the production. They work with the above-the-line staff and the below-the-line staff. So if you have a production, the executive producer, he's looking at the scripts and he says, I like it. Here. Unit manager, pull it together. You got to pick a director. You got to pick the crew. You've got to figure the budget. You've got to figure the lighting guy. All of that has to be pulled together. And then you head up the meetings of the schedule, when it's going to happen. And that's what I did. And they liked it so much because I did it so well, I got a promotion. And that promotion was into the position of the executive director of engineering and satellite communications. I have never gone to school for engineering. I have a bachelor's in education and a master's in HR and business. But for some reason, I just get it. I just understand technology. And I stayed in that position for about 8 years. I had an interesting situation because we used to travel to the Middle East all the time. And something that came to me was that while it was my first or second trip going over to the Middle East, we were in Israel, living in Israel, crossed the border going to southern Lebanon. My wife got a hold of me through CBN's office and said, please call home right away. I said, oh no, what happened? My wife said, we bought a car, a nice car, a Mercury. They don't make Mercuries anymore. And she said, I walked in, I went and was putting lipstick on and getting ready to go to work, and the car blew up. So
Blew up like fire? Like
blew up. They had to call firemen and everything.
Wow.
So back then, I think about it today and I say, that sounds a little suspicious.
It does.
So and the wonderful thing Anna said, my wife Anna, she said, don't come home. Get the job done. You got a job to do. You got to build that station. So I did. We stayed. We got the station done.
So your role in building the station, you just worked with the architects and the sound. Was it from a structural part? Like what part?
No, the building was already there.
Okay.
What we did as engineers, and there were like 4 of us, we would all go over, and there was equipment that was shipped over. You have to connect it all,
Gotcha.
Put it together, because we wanted to have a television station and a transmitter so that we could transmit into southern Lebanon.
Gotcha.
And we'd be sitting in there, and the terrorists would fire over from Beaufort Mountain. They would fire shots over into the building, and you'd see a big hole in the wall where something came through the wall. It was an exciting time. It really was. And Haddad, who was then over southern Lebanon, he passed away, and I had to go with a gift to his wife to sit and give my condolences. And I met a lot of people, did a lot of stuff, had to negotiate some stuff that got the program to keep going, a lot of negotiation with different people, understanding how they think, understanding how the deal is structured, and there was a lot of that. And then I came back, was with I was with CBN for 8 years. I was with CBN for 8 years, loved it, and don't regret it. And then after I left there, I opened my own audio engineering company, and we put in
Virginia.
In Virginia, okay. We put in sound systems in churches, and we did work for NATO. We did the battleship. What was the name? We did a battleship that we put in a new intercom system.
In the ship?
In the ship, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was the intercom system, not the main intercom system, but the intercom system that anybody could pick up the phone and use. And so we were able to do that. We did a lot of stuff in NATO because we lived in Virginia. The largest naval base in America is right there in Norfolk. So I learned a lot. And then after having my company we had that for about 5 years. It ended up where things went downhill. They went downhill. And so downhill, no business. And I went bankrupt. I went bankrupt. So I sat back and said, now, what am I going to do? So I went to visit my sister in New York, and she had this guy on TV. His name was T.D. Jakes. And long story short, got to meet him. He said, maybe there's something here for you. I don't know. About a month later, they called back, said, like you to come for an interview, and I was there for 8 years. And I was the executive over building the event center, the 8,000-seat event center, and also the planned community on 400 acres. So that was good. I had fun, and I also was overbuilding the school. So there was a lot that we did, And then after that, I decided I want to get back into video production, audio, because it's my roots.
Yeah.
And here I am at Southside. And so that kind of gives you a good idea of how I got here.
So tell me this. Tell me what's like a funny story or a crazy story or some of the just from being in this building.
In
like
this building?
Like a crazy story, a funny story, or like.
Right. Well, I don't know if it's crazy or funny, but and I think when the old elevators were there, getting stuck in the old elevators was traumatic. But you know,
you got stuck in the elevator?
Oh yeah. Well,
how long?
I've been here 15 years. I've been here. This is back in the day. Well, it's like it was 25 years ago. It was back in the day when they had the old elevators, and they would break down every now and then. But we have new elevators now, and that's going well. But anything else funny? Well, I don't know if it's funny, but have you ever gone to open your door and forgotten your keys? You don't have the keys, so you got to drive all the way back home and get the keys to get in.
Oh, wow.
That part of it, after a while, gets old and funny at the same time. But
yeah. Well, I think that's Mr. Nat.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I hope the viewers will enjoy it. Being here is a lot of fun, and I'm glad that young entrepreneurs can be in this building, and it helps them to grow and to prosper. And I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for listening to Southside 457. See you next time.
Southside 457.